Airbnb nightmare? He wouldn't leave my spare room. The chipped porcelain knob felt cold under my fingers. I hesitated, my heart hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs. It was just a spare room. Mine. I paid the mortgage. But lately, it felt like anything but. It started innocently enough. I needed the money. Graphic design gigs had dried up after I left my agency. The breakup with Mark hadn't helped either. He'd taken the dog, the TV, and a chunk of my sanity. Airbnb seemed like a temporary solution, a way to keep the wolves from the door. Liam showed up on a Tuesday afternoon. He was lanky, with a mop of brown hair that perpetually fell into his eyes. He had a shy smile and carried a worn leather backpack that looked like it had seen better days. He said he was a writer working on a novel, needed a quiet place to focus. Seemed harmless enough. He was quiet, almost too quiet. He kept to himself, spending most of his time in the spare room, the door always closed. I'd hear the faint tapping of his keyboard, the occasional rustle of papers. Sometimes, late at night, I'd hear him pacing. The first red flag was subtle. He asked about my schedule. When I left for groceries, when I usually went for my run. I brushed it off as polite conversation, but it stuck in the back of my mind, a tiny burr of unease. Then there was the way he looked at me, a lingering gaze that made my skin crawl. He booked for a week initially. Then, on the last day, he asked to extend. My car's having trouble, he explained, avoiding eye contact, needs some work, and the mechanic's backed up. I hesitated. Something felt off, but I needed the money. Okay, I said, forcing a smile. Another week. The week passed. His car was still in the shop. This time, the excuse was a family emergency. His aunt was sick. He needed to be near her. He couldn't possibly drive all the way back to wherever he'd come from, not in this state. That's when I knew. He wasn't leaving. I tried to be polite, firm but polite. Liam, I understand things have come up, but I really need the room back. I have another potential guest interested. He looked at me, his eyes flat and unreadable. Don't worry, Sarah. I'll figure something out. He didn't. He started pushing boundaries. He'd leave his dishes in the sink, use my shampoo, borrow my phone charger without asking. He'd stand too close, his breath warm on my neck when he talked. I confided in Chloe, my best friend. He's not leaving, Chloe. I don't know what to do. Kick him out, Sarah. Call the police. He's squatting. I hesitated. The police? It felt so drastic. And what would I even tell them? He hadn't broken any laws, not really. He's making me uncomfortable, I said, the words sounding weak even to my own ears. Uncomfortable? Sarah, he's living in your house rent-free. He's taking advantage of you. Chloe's voice was sharp with concern. Call the police, now. I called. The officer who arrived, a weary-looking man named Miller, listened patiently to my story. He took notes, asked questions. Technically, he said, sighing, he's established residency. Eviction laws are tricky. You'd have to go through the courts. My heart sank. The courts? That could take months. Is he threatening you? Miller asked. Not directly, I admitted. But I feel unsafe. Miller gave me a sympathetic look. I understand. But without a direct threat, there's not much we can do. I'll make a note of it. Keep an eye on the place. But you might want to consult with a lawyer, start the eviction process. He left, and I felt more alone than ever. Liam seemed to sense my fear. He became more brazen. He'd start conversations I didn't want to have, asking about my past relationship, about my finances. He'd offer unsolicited advice, telling me how to run my life. One afternoon, I found him going through my mail. Just making sure you didn't miss anything important, he said, his eyes glinting. Get out of my mail, I yelled, my voice shaking. He just shrugged, a slow, deliberate gesture that infuriated me. Relax, Sarah. I was just trying to help. I started locking my bedroom door at night. I'd lie awake, listening to the floorboards creak, imagining him standing outside, listening too. Mrs. Davison, my nosy neighbor, stopped me in the driveway. That young man of yours seems a bit odd, dear, she said, peering at me over her spectacles. Keeps pacing around at night. And I saw him staring at your windows the other day. You be careful now." Her words only amplified my fear. I started documenting everything, every conversation, every odd behavior. I hid my phone and recorded our interactions. I took pictures of his belongings, of the way he arranged things in the house. I was building a case, piece by piece. One evening, I came home to find my laptop open on the kitchen counter. It was on my design software, displaying a file I hadn't opened. My stomach twisted. "What were you doing on my computer?" I demanded, my voice trembling. He smiled, a slow, unsettling smile. "Just admiring your work, Sarah. You're very talented." That night, I couldn't sleep. I felt violated, exposed. He was inside my head, inside my life. I decided to change the locks. While he was out visiting his aunt, I rushed to the hardware store. Mr. Chen, the owner, raised an eyebrow when I asked for a complete lock replacement. "Trouble, Sarah?" he asked, his voice low. "Just being cautious," I said, avoiding his gaze. I raced back home, adrenaline coursing through my veins. I managed to replace the front door lock before he returned. But as I was working on the back door, I heard his key in the lock. He walked in, his face a mask of fury. "What are you doing?" he roared. "I'm changing the locks," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "You can't do that." He lunged at me, grabbing my arm. I screamed. I twisted away from him, scrambling for the phone. He blocked my path, his eyes burning with rage. "Don't make me do something you'll regret, Sarah," he hissed. I managed to shove past him, dialing 911 with shaking fingers. "He's attacking me," I screamed into the phone. "He won't leave my house." The police arrived minutes later, sirens wailing. They dragged Liam out, kicking and screaming. He was gone. The relief was overwhelming, a wave of pure, unadulterated joy. I sank to the floor, sobbing. But the relief didn't last. The legal process was a nightmare. Liam was charged with trespassing and harassment, but he was released on bail. The eviction process dragged on, a seemingly endless bureaucratic maze. I spent days cleaning up the house. His belongings were strewn everywhere. Clothes, books, notebooks filled with scribbled writing. I found a hidden camera in my bathroom, pointed directly at the shower. My blood ran cold. I started seeing a therapist. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I was constantly on edge, jumping at every noise. I installed security cameras, reinforced the locks, and avoided going out alone at night. One evening, I was sitting in my living room, watching TV. I glanced out the window and saw a figure standing across the street, shrouded in shadows. I couldn't make out his face, but I knew it was him. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. He stood there for what felt like an eternity, then slowly turned and walked away. I called the police, but they couldn't find him. They said it was probably just my imagination, but I knew it wasn't. A week later, I found a note on my doorstep. It was a single word, scrawled in messy handwriting. "Soon." I called the police again, but they said there was nothing they could do. It wasn't a direct threat, they said. I live in fear now. I check the locks every night, peer out the windows, and jump at every unexpected noise. I know he's out there, watching me, waiting. I thought renting out my spare room would solve my problems. Instead, it brought my worst nightmare to life. And I have this chilling feeling that it's not over, and maybe never will be. He wouldn't leave my spare room, and I fear he never will.